Hello everybody, my name's Gary. Welcome back to the garage in Spain, home to Arboleas Junction. Today is the 31st of December 2022, New Year's Eve, so it looks as if this will be the very last update for the year. What I intend to do today is a very short video, because obviously people have got lots to do in preparation to celebrate that new year coming in. And hopefully, as we all do, it'll be a lot better than it was last year. Anyway, I'm going to show the update I've done on the embankment and the elevated section and the retaining walls on the layout. Before I just disappear off around the layout, just a thank you to all those new subscribers who've taken my total to over 200 now, which is quite amazing really, because at the beginning of this I never really expected to do anything more than just show a few people what I was doing with the layout. But obviously there's some interest, which I'm very grateful. And as I say, if you're watching this perhaps for the very first time and you'd like to ask questions about what I've done and how I've done things, please leave a comment in the comment section below the video, and I'll certainly get back to everybody who's sent in any questions. And also, if you put a like, the little thumbs up button, that will help to put the video into the categories that modelling and railways have come up with on the YouTube system. So that will help more people see exactly what's going on within the hobby. Anyway, without further ado, let's take the camera off the tripod and pop down to the layout. So in this shot here, you can see the extent of the branch line route, which leads up to the station at Vaquero. And then as I pan to the left, you can see the retaining wall eventually curves and slopes down to the main baseboard level. These are the 4 panels of wall I've completed since the last update video, along with this 3-section sloping wall unit. However, the low-level walls you can see here were scratch built from some unused sections of similar card kits, as this wasn't included in the original packs. Now, all of the wall sections have only been temporarily positioned on the baseboard, which allows me time to be able to make final adjustments if necessary under and behind the inclines. The card kits are all formed by using a 5-ply card sandwich and are glued using a Yoo-hoo adhesive stick. The commercial card kits use the same glued manifold system as I've just explained with the low relief walls. Now, I'm still deciding on a final practical system of being able to remove the walls if major work needs to be carried out under and behind the rails. And as I pan round, you'll see that there is quite a length of wall to take into consideration. Oh, and of course, I'll still need to find a suitable back scene for this area. So, plenty more work still to do on this area of the layout then. And now, picking up on a promise from a previous update video, which was to show some of the constructions and methods I use on the layout, I've put together a series of pictures which were taken during the building of the hillside corner, the one where the branch line leaves the main loop and climbs up to Vaquero. Now, where necessary, I've also added links to previous videos which provide a much more in-depth example of the construction methods I may have used. As the hillside occupies a difficult to reach area of the layout, I decided to build a removable scenic section, and this picture feature shows the construction process. Now, if during the feature I fail to answer any queries you may have, please do leave a question or comment below this video, and I will promise to get back and answer all the posts that you leave. So in this construction, I decided to reuse a removable section, and this I built from some spare 5mm MDF and added some exterior contour pieces and affixed those with the pieces of wood that I had lying around in the garage. Any design is entirely up to yourself, and the other thing you'll need loads of is good, firm, thick cardboard packing, a suitable knife, and obviously a ruler. So I began by laying out some sections to do the contours of the road that I wanted to run through the middle of the scene. These I then set vertically and spaced them again with some more MDF just to give stability in the initial buildings section. Here you can see the profile, and that shows how the road gradually rises up to the little valley. Now these little sections that I've super glued down to the base of the build are to allow me to extract the corner unit from the layout, and you'll see this done right at the very end of this clip, and you see the process that I've used. So once the main part of the road was secured, I then started to use some 5mm blocks to make up the lower levels of scenery. Again, putting them back onto the layout as necessary, just so I could see how it looked overall. Then the proper build began, and once I was happy with the look of the road and the height, we started using loads of cardboard and laid on first of all the road surface. Again, this would all be covered anyway, but it was just to show me where I needed to put the plaster Paris. And again, I finished off the curves of the lower levels with some more of the MDF sectioning, which I'd left over, and then just double checked the actual layout from above, so I knew exactly where I'd be positioning everything. Next, it was time to start cutting cardboard, which makes the contours of the hillside itself. So for this, I just made up several boxes, as you can see in the background there, and then closer towards the lower level, tapered down towards the edge. Checking as I went along the style of the road, how that would actually be climbing up through the hillside. And again from the air, just to get some idea of how things were looking. Now you'll notice again this tube section has been put on top of the lifting mechanism, and again at the end I've done a little video just to show how that's used to move the piece in and out from the layout. Getting quite close to the end now before I start to stuff these pockets that you can see with newspaper, and that then forms the main contours of the land before applying a top coat, top coat, get my words out there, top coat of masking tape. So the overall effect doesn't look very good at the moment, because obviously seeing the newspaper doesn't distinguish any features, but then with the first layer of masking tape applied, you can then see the outline of the road running through the centre and the hillside starting to form. Now my preferred method of double coating is to use plaster Paris bandage, and this is the first run of that. I also use up a plaster mix, which is PVA, plaster and water, to paint on just with a stipple brush over the top, using my fingers to smooth and to add some little contours, because I didn't want it too flat. The only piece that I did keep fairly smooth obviously was the road section through the middle. And then once that was all finished, I put the unit back onto the layout again to check the land lying as it was. Again, just trying to get some perspective of how it would look, and to do this I bring in a train just to pop down so it gets some idea of the height against the train. Next I decided I'd put some dry stow warning on, and I've left a link here to one of the other YouTube groups who shows exactly how to make this, so I'm not going to go into it here. Needless to say, it's a really good idea to experiment a little bit before you actually apply it. And again, there's no strict rules or wherewithal to do. You just put down where you want to put a dry stone wall, and initially, you know, it's exactly what you want to do with the design. I've used a brown paint, an ordinary acrylic paint, just to give an idea of the land, and then again check through, have a look at the road, and at this stage obviously you can make any alterations without damaging too much. The only thing I had forgotten, and a bit silly, was the width of the gate that I was going to put in through this dry stone wall, hence the reason you see a bit of damage there. But again, before it's all painted up properly, you can still get to that. The gate I actually printed off on just using an ordinary printer, and then laid pieces of styrene rod across, use some glue just to stick this in situ, and then have a little test trial in the gap, which looked pretty good. And then making sure that the tubes for the lifting hadn't been forgotten, and I'll again come to the end. Popped it back onto the layout just to check again, and all was looking good. Then I started to do some painting, and again, depending on what part of the country you come from, especially in the UK, depends on the colour of the slates or the stones used to actually build the walls. So I messed about with some poster and some acrylic paints just to get an idea of what I wanted. And overall, made them a little bit darker, a little bit of wash on the outside just to bring out some of the profile, and saw that it was all looking pretty good. So again, I put some ground cover down for the road, just a different colour to the rest of the scenery, and then added some base flocks and then some static grasses, and started to build up the look of the land. Again, that's entirely up to everybody. A few sheep on there just to keep the level of the grass down, of course. And around the entrance to the gate area, I mounted some posts in the ground, then mounted the actual post onto that, or the gate rather, onto that. And overall, the scene was looking pretty decent. Again, you know, there's various YouTube videos out there of people using static grasses and colours, etc. So do have a look online. And then I needed something to cover up the hole for the lifting mechanism. So I started to build a run-down shack, not necessarily fire damaged, but certainly old, decrepit. I've used basic styrene tiles, roof tiles, some styrene sticks, and other bits and pieces, some old brick embossed plastics, and just set about building up some sort of idea of a ruin. I didn't want it totally run down, but I did need a separate roof section. So once that was in place, I then looked at the overall layout, looked at the scene, put the house in, and as you can see from a distance, it just looks like a bit of a rundown house, which hides the hole in the baseboard. Sorry, in the actual scenery. Next, I decided to put some fencing onto the layout, and that was simple enough. Again, styrene rod, 5 little 0.5mm holes drilled in each post, and then threaded through some 0.3 plastic tubing in a single piece, which is easier to thread all the way through rather than individual pieces. And again, just had a look over. It wasn't too large an area to use, but one thing I did have was a gap between the fencing, and was going to put a gate in originally, and then thought, no, I will put a stile in. So I set about measuring up, took some reference pictures offline off the internet, and built up a little stile. Again, the use of the little wagon there just to get some context of size and heights. There's the little stile that I've put in. It's pretty traditional English type of style that's used, and again, there's no specific time period for my layout, so I just built a style that I thought looked okay. And then finally, down to a little bit of painting. Again, acrylics on the fence posts and the fence rails. This can be weathered at a later stage, but it's, again, whatever you decide that you want to do. There's no period, as I say, so it doesn't have to be specific. And the overall look started to come together really well. I started to put bits of foliage on, some bushes. I haven't put trees on this area, but certainly you know, that could be added to a later stage. Okay, that concludes this scenic build, with just a reminder from me to add any questions you may have into the comments section below the video. And I promise, as I said at the very start of the video, that I would certainly answer any of those posted. Next, as promised, is a very short video showing how the scenic lifting point is used. And then after my video outro piece to camera, I've included a short clip of the layout to show how the scenics, which have been added over the past year, enhance the photos and videos I'm able to capture around the layout. Well, thank you everybody for staying to the end of the video. And as I said before, if anybody's got any comments that they'd like answering, please leave them in the box below and I'll certainly get back to all those posted. In the meantime, stay safe, enjoy your modelling and a Happy New Year. See you all soon. Bye.